welcome everyone to the Live Limitless Summit, where we are focusing all about having conscious, abundant, and empowered relationships. So, to those of you who do not know me, I'm Nikam Jain, and I love facilitating and transforming people's limiting belief, pain, and traumas so they can be the best version of themselves. Today, I'm excited to have Jodie Solberg with us. She is a mental wellness coach and a certified hypnotherapist. She works with purpose driven entrepreneurs who are on a mission to live in their passion and values to create real and lasting changes in their lives and business. She helps them tap into the power of their subconscious mind to gain clarity and confidence they need to up level. Her programs focuses on emotional strength, intelligence, and resilience in her clients, and teaches them the importance of self-care so that they can go out and give back to their loved ones and create positive changes in the world around them. So, healthy relationships are the vital component of health and well being, but it begins first from taking care of ourselves. And that's what Jody advocates all about how to love yourself. So, welcome, Jody, to the show. Over to you. You would like to know
Oh,
more about it.
yes. Thank you so much, Nupam. I appreciate you having me here today. I'm so excited to share with everyone. And yes, a little bit about me. Like you said, I'm a mental wellness coach and a hypnotherapist, and I've been practicing therapeutically for the last about 20 years. And I actually started working with relationships, couples, and families, and went on to work with um, teens and with addiction, and of course with entrepreneurs. And so I've worked in lots of different areas. And like you were saying, one of the core things in our lives are our relationships. And so really building ourselves healthy so then we can have healthy relationships is a key component to happiness in our lives.
Amazing, Jody. So, I would like to know more about your journey and how did you transform yourself and how did this you came to the conclusion that this is the base of everything and that loving yourself is the first thing we all should do.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I will tell you that when I was younger, I was a very shy girl growing up, and I felt good. I was raised to have good inward confidence, so inner confidence in myself, but was really shy with the outward confidence. And so, one of the parts of my journey I think that's really key is when I was becoming a therapist and I was in graduate school and studying social and clinical psychology, is that I had to do a lot of work on myself to feel confident to be able to show up as an expert for other people. Because when you're 21 years old and you're telling people how to parent their children, you need to come across as very confident and as an expert and like you know what you're doing. And so that's definitely some work I needed to do. And then for my own relationships, I was very emotional. I was on that emotional roller coaster. I had a lot of challenges, as we all do in my life. And especially as a young person, I went through my parents' divorce, and then my mom got cancer right after that, and was actually given a terminal diagnosis. Luckily, she's still here. She found the right doctors, but we went through that journey in my teens and my 20s of not really knowing what was going to happen, and those are really key relationships in my life, of course. And I actually found my husband when I was in grad school. I never had planned that. I thought, oh, I'm going to be out of school and I'll be 30 before I ever meet someone, but you can't really choose when that happens. And so I found him as I was going through all of these things, and as I was going through strengthening myself and learning how to be assertive and learning how to set boundaries and all of these key tools that were so important in becoming this authority figure and in becoming a therapist. And he really helped strengthen me a lot too, honestly. It was a very different relationship. I think in the past I had relationships where I maybe took a little too much for granted a little bit that somebody was going to be there, and then when they weren't, I was upset. And so really having to strengthen myself that I was enough and I was worthy and I was a whole person, and then finding someone who was also very independent and also very strong in himself and very emotionally stable and had such good role models growing up was really pivotal for me because I learned how you're supposed to work in a relationship. I knew the theory, obviously, I'd gone to school for that, but really experiencing it yourself is a whole nother thing. And so to have that relationship that was so night and day different from the ones that I'd had before, that was very emotionally strong and stable and supportive and healthy and trusting, was a huge change in my life. And so learning through that process for myself as well as teaching it to others has really helped me to become who I am today and to be able to say, not only just from professional experience, but from personal experience, that I know what that looks like. And I think that that has made such a difference in my practice and in what I do, that I practice what I preach as well. That it is so important. I was always raised to be very independent, but learning how to work in a relationship, being both independent people and then coming together and having it make you even better as human beings and having a better experience here has been life changing for me and for my clients as well.
Wow. That's amazing. And what you said, I really loved it. Like, yeah, studying and having that into your life is a two different things, definitely. So,
Mm-hmm.
tell me, what was the biggest struggle? Where did you find things were not? Uh, I mean, most of the times when your clients are coming with the issues, and this is the basic issues which each and every one of them have. So, what is that like?
So when they're coming to me, one of the things that I think is really important is I use a client-centered approach and a heart-centered approach, meaning that I am really focused completely on them and what they're bringing to the table, and we go where they want to go. One of the things that I do use as a tool, like we mentioned, is hypnotherapy. And what that does is that really helps to calm down that front part of your mind. That's the part I always talk about, that's a kind of a block right here. It just sits in the front, and it has a little bit of a protective shield there. It has a comeback for everything. It says, why do you think you can do that? You didn't do that before. Or it just is, I know it sometimes is very negative, but it's trying to be a protective shield for you. It's trying to really shield you, honestly, from getting hurt. And potentially having something bad or feeling bad like you did in the past happen to you again. And so we're calming down that hypercritical, analytical part that's just your worst critic. And we're really getting to that heart of the matter of what's going on underneath all of that. So that's the first thing, is just what is going on in their lives, and then figuring out why is it happening. What are some things potentially in their past? I had to resolve the things in my past and relationships, like, for example, my relationship with my father after my parents got divorced. Or, is it something that is just a family dynamic that's always been there that you're repeating in your current relationship? So you need to look and really analyze and see what is going on under the surface. What is going on under that? So you're not just talking in circles all the time. So that's the first thing we do, is we go a little deeper to see what are those past hurts, or what are those limiting beliefs, like you had mentioned, and where did they come from? Did they come from society? Did they come from your upbringing? Did they come from maybe an experience you had and then you told yourself that story? So that's the first piece of working with me.
Okay. So, Jody, I would like to know that do you also believe that whatever pattern, whatever the relationships we have presently is a mirror of what we are within? Is it a mirror of what we are?
I think so. Yeah, I believe that it's really reflects. It's very reflective of what's going on inside of us. So how we show up in our
In
relationships.
any of the
Mhm.
example of your clients, what I mean, any of the cases which you have done over the years, any of you can explain it through an example that how you help that person come out of it.
Yes, absolutely. So, for example, I've been working with a client who has really had some abusive relationships in the past, and relationships where boundaries were violated and lines were crossed, and a lot of it we're figuring out has come from some of her watching her relationship with her parents. They had fought a lot, and it wasn't extreme behavior necessarily. It was more door slamming and getting in fights, and her mom threatening to take the kids but never did because she was scared to be on her own. And her parents are actually still together, and it has de-escalated. It used to be big things that they would fight about, and now it's what to have for dinner that they fight about. So it's smaller things, but they're in a habit of fighting. So they're in a habit of conflict. And so that is something that she grew up watching. And so when she started to get into romantic relationships herself, as she got into college, for example, then she would let things go that maybe she shouldn't have. And lines were crossed. So it got more extreme than what she saw with her parents. But she would think, oh, well, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to leave. And that was traced back to seeing her mom wanting to leave but never doing that. And it's not necessarily your parents' fault. I mean, all of us do as well as we can with what we know and who we are, and the knowledge and the confidence that we have. But we're able to trace that back to where she saw these things happen in these relationships, and then she sacrificed. She sacrificed her self-worth, and she sacrificed who she was in order to be someone for this person. And she figured out through our sessions together that she needed to be whole herself and be confident in order to attract who she wanted. So she had to be the person that she wanted to attract. And she needed to be willing to leave and to be alone and to be okay by herself, knowing that she wasn't going to settle for someone who was abusive and who wasn't respecting her and valuing her and being the person that she wanted them to be, and not just say, well, I don't want to be alone and I want to have a family, and so I'm going to stay with this person who's unhealthy.
Oh wow, that's lovely. So, how does you just said that she wanted to be herself? So, how we be ourselves? Is there a way, a set technique, or a way to be that?
Yeah, there are some things that you can absolutely do, and I think part of it is really having emotional awareness. I always believe that awareness is the first piece of the puzzle. And so really taking some time to sit and tap into your inner wisdom of how you're feeling. I think sometimes we do settle and we do push things aside and we let things go that maybe we shouldn't. And we just get used to it. Again, it becomes a habit. And so, really being aware of how you're feeling and who you are, and taking some time to, and getting support if you need it, to heal some of those old past hurts and really look back at where do these patterns come from. And then the other thing that I think is really helpful is to look at who you surround yourself with and look at those people, and things. And now a lot of them sometimes are digital, right? We're online so much more now. But looking at the influences, what you're spending your time on, who you're spending your time with, and looking at them and making a list and saying, you know what, when I am with them or when I'm doing these things, is there a plus, a minus, or an equal sign next to those people and those activities? Do I feel better about myself, my situation, and the world around me after I spend time with them, that's a plus. Do I feel the same? That's an equals. Or do I feel worse about myself and my situation and what's going on in the world? And that's a negative. And I'm not saying you have to cut out all the negative people. Sometimes they're your family and you don't want to cut those people out. But limiting interactions in the negative zone, right? Limiting those interactions, or maybe being aware of the topics that are triggers or the things that you can avoid talking about with them or doing, so that you have more of the positive in your life and you're really seeing what's bringing me joy and what's making me feel good about myself. That I think is so huge. And there was a time in my life where I had people who were very close to me and my family that were negative. Those interactions and those conversations were negative. And I had to work on myself. And so I just limited a little bit of the time and certain topics with them that I talked about. And then as I grew and as they grew, then we were able to have a much more healthy relationship. But I just had to set those boundaries. And so that's one of the things they can do. And just really building up your self-confidence and your self-esteem, doing that personal work, because insecurity creates issues that aren't really there. And again, like I mentioned with my client, if you're a confident person, that's going to change how other people react and interact with you. And you're going to attract other positive, confident, like-minded people. So surrounding yourself with as much positive interaction as you can, and with like-minded people who are also wanting to grow and they're supporting you in growing, are going to help you to get to know yourself better and get to love yourself more, so that you can then find someone else to have that good, positive, healthy relationship with.
How nice. I mean, I think that's the best way to find. Otherwise, we always think that the other person is going to complement you or complete you, but it's never the same way, right?
Yeah, and complimenting is okay. Completing is not, because you have to be complete within yourself. And then you find someone who does compliment you and does, grow with you, and is someone who is going to challenge you in a good way, right? Not a bad way, but be someone that you can come together. I always believe in being independent people and having your own interests, having your own time for your own personal fulfillment, and then coming back together, and then you have so much more to discuss, and you have so much of a richer interaction with them than if you are just this shell who becomes whoever they want to be. There's too many people who try to morph into what they think the other person wants, instead of really being themselves and then finding someone who loves them for who they are.
True. How true is that? Okay, Jody, if someone is stuck into that kind of relationship where they're not happy and it's not even satisfying, so what should be the step and how they can just they should manage it, they should move out of that relationship? What piece of advice or guidance kind of thing you can give it to our viewers out here?
I would say to really take time for yourself. Take time to reflect on that relationship. Is it something that you need to go ahead and leave, or is it something you can work on? And it definitely warrants having a conversation with the other person to say, I'm not happy, and this is why, and what can we do to work together? And if the person's not willing to work with you on that, it's not worth it, because unless someone wants to change, they won't. And so really having a conversation and setting new boundaries. A lot of times when we're unhappy, it's a boundary issue. So we're either not setting them, or we set them and they're being violated. And so communication is really key, and making sure that you are present in the conversation, that you're open-minded, that you're not being judgmental. And so then you can have an open conversation to see, are we on the same page? Do we really want the same things? You want to see, do you share the same values? what are your expectations of each other, of your time spent together, of decision making, how you handle conflict. If those things aren't in line with each other, then it's not going to work. And so you really want to be open either way to being more objective and being aware of, is this going to work for me, and is this healthy or is this not? And you might be surprised, the other person might have been feeling the same way and just didn't know how to communicate. So really learning how to communicate and be more open instead of being reactive. It's like I was saying with that front part of our brain, we're so reactive. And so you have to calm that down a little bit and look at things from both perspectives. And then you can make a really good decision about where you're going in your life, and you'll be more okay with it. And that is the hard thing with that client I mentioned earlier. She just didn't want to be alone. She was scared to be alone. And so she never wanted to leave. And it took someone from the outside to actually see what was happening and tell her, you know what, this is not okay. This is not normal. Don't sweep this under the rug. And it was someone close to her who finally saw it and told her, you know what, you need to stop this and move on. So if you can't be objective for yourself, find someone who's a support that can, or find someone from the outside, so a professional that can help you really to unpack all of these things to see where this relationship is headed, because sometimes it's too hard to do it for ourselves, especially when we do have those limiting beliefs and those past hurts and everything all intertwined together. There's a lot of things in our lives that are intermingled, and sometimes it's hard to get out of that on your own. So get support if you need to, but be willing to walk away if that's what it takes.
Wow, thank you so much for just spreading a light over there. So, Jody, before we wind up, do you have any powerful tips for our viewers so that they can use it and they can transform their life? Because you talk a lot about self love. So, how they can practice it, and anything you would like to just.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll give you some tips for self care, because I do believe that you have to fill up your cup first. So ideally, what should happen is, instead of you taking your cup and pouring, think about a cup of water, right? You're pouring a little bit out, a little bit out, a little bit out all day until you're completely empty. The ideal would be to fill your cup up so much that it's overflowing, and the overflow is what you give to others. And so, as women especially, we are expected to be all things to all people at all times. And so we have a lot that we have to give. And so I would say to take the time to fill your cup, alone time and social time. Have the friend time, have the time to have those good conversations again with those positive people that you want to surround yourself with. But have alone time for reflection and mindfulness. Learn how to do some mindfulness or some meditation to really get calm and still, as well as taking really good health and wellness benefits, right? The health and wellness benefits to just having that mindfulness and that meditation are huge. It's good for your body, it's good for your soul, it's good for your brain just to slow down a little bit, and treat yourself well, your physical self, your mental self, and your spiritual self. Being really healthy and balanced comes from within, and worth comes from within. So, it's not just the bubble bath, that we talk about when you talk about self-care. It really is from the inside out. And so just being here at a summit like this is amazing, because it means that you're prioritizing yourself and that you're really wanting to grow personally. But take the time to connect with nature, to go on those walks, to have a lunch or a coffee with your best friend, listen to music that you enjoy. All of those things are really good self-care for you. And when you do that for yourself and take the time, and I know we're all busy, but a little bit before bed, or A little break during the day goes a long way to help you then be able to give to others and show up the way you want to in your relationship. Not be burnt out, not be stressed out, not be snapping at everybody, really being able to show up and be present for everyone and for yourself. And so take the time, even though we're busy, take the time for yourself to improve really your relationship with yourself and who you are, and do the things that you enjoy. Make a list of 10 things that you love to do and that you really enjoy. It's called your joy list. And have that somewhere close by or in your phone so that when you're trying to think of, okay, I'm stressed out, go through the list. Find something quick that you can do that is just going to make you happy and reset your mind.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jodie, for such a wonderful piece of advice. And I'm sure each and every viewer would just can benefit from it. Thank you for your time and being over here with us. And if people want to find you, where they can find you?
So my business is called Psyched Up Success. So it's all about taking psychology and becoming successful with it and using that as a tool. And so my website is psychedupsuccess.com. They can also find me under that name on Facebook and Instagram, or you can find me as Jodie Solberg and connect with me that way. And I will make sure that you have all the links that we need for that. But I'm very excited to share today. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm just grateful that I can be here and really help others, because I have benefited so much, and I know my clients have too, from summits and trainings and wonderful information just like this. So thank you for putting it together.
Yes, thank you so much. As we begin, it bonds us together. So take care. See you soon and stay safe. Love yourself a little more. Bye bye.